You feel pulled in a dozen directions, craving a calm center that seems just out of reach. This ancient struggle for inner peace is exactly what Stoic philosophy was built to solve. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength is self-mastery, and it is not a vague ideal." By the end of this video, you will possess 29 concrete Stoic tactics to build an unbreakable inner resilience. What does it truly mean to love your fate? And how can remembering your own mortality make you more alive? What single change would bring the most peace to your mind today? The first and most crucial step toward self-mastery is learning to correctly identify the boundaries of your own power. This is the Stoic dichotomy of control, a simple division that untangles the knots of daily anxiety. Your power lies exclusively in your own judgments, your intentions, and the actions you choose to take. Everything else, from the weather to the opinions of others, is outside that sacred circle. The philosopher Epictetus opened his manual for life with this very idea. He wrote, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. Our opinions are up to us, our impulses, desires, aversions, our own actions. Not up to us are our body, our property, our reputation, our public office." Grasping this distinction is like being given a map after wandering lost in a forest. It does not change the terrain, but it shows you where you can actually walk. Consider a job interview. You cannot control whether the hiring manager likes you, who the other candidates are, or the final decision. These lie outside your control. But you have complete command over your preparation, your research on the company, the sincerity you bring to the conversation, and how you choose to respond to the questions. Pouring your energy into that inner circle of preparation brings confidence and clarity. Fretting over the outer circle of the result only brings helplessness and fear. So take a moment and bring to mind 3 things that are causing you stress right now. Write them down if you can. Now, for each one, ask yourself a single question. Does this fall within my own judgments and actions, or does its outcome ultimately depend on forces beyond my command? This simple act of sorting is not passive acceptance. It is the first active step in reclaiming your mental energy and directing it where it can truly make a difference. What if regularly thinking about what could go wrong is the key to fearing it less? This is the heart of the second Stoic tactic, a powerful mental exercise the Romans called Premeditatio Malorum, or the Premeditation of Evils. Far from being a gloomy pessimism, this is a profound tool for building resilience and a deep, unshakable gratitude. The Stoics believed that by mentally rehearsing potential losses or setbacks, we inoculate ourselves against the shock and despair they might otherwise cause. We pre-accept the blow, so when life does strike, our inner balance remains. Seneca captured this perfectly when he wrote, "He who has anticipated the coming of troubles takes away their power when they arrive." He practiced imagining himself in poverty, not because he desired it, but to discover that even without his wealth, his spirit could remain rich and content. Think of a possession you truly value, your phone, a piece of jewelry, or your home. For just a moment, close your eyes and picture it gone. Do not dwell on the panic, but instead sit with the feeling of what remains. You are still here. Your ability to think, to feel, to connect with others, all of that remains intact. By voluntarily touching that feeling of loss, you return to the present moment with a renewed appreciation for what you have. This practice strips away the sense of entitlement that so often leads to our greatest disappointments. It transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. Your morning coffee becomes a gift, the smile from a stranger a small miracle, and the simple comfort of your bed a profound luxury. Now apply this to a common daily frustration. Take just 1 minute to imagine a scenario you usually dread, like being stuck in terrible traffic or having an important plan suddenly cancelled. But this time, do not just imagine the event. Mentally rehearse your response. See yourself taking a deep breath, accepting the situation completely without complaint, and turning your focus to what you can control in that new moment. Perhaps you use the traffic jam to listen to a favorite piece of music you have not heard in ages, or you see the cancelled plan as an unexpected gift of free time. This mental rehearsal forges neural pathways of calm acceptance, so when life inevitably presents these challenges, your stoic response is ready, practiced, and automatic. Step outside of your immediate concerns and look at your life as if from a mountaintop. See the streets and buildings shrink, the people becoming tiny moving specks. Now pull your perspective even higher until the entire city is a mere patchwork of light, the country a shape on a globe, and the planet itself a pale blue dot suspended in an unimaginable vastness. This is the Stoic view from above, a mental exercise that acts as an instant antidote for a swollen ego and a troubled mind. It shrinks our personal dramas down to their true, manageable size. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this cosmic viewpoint in his private writings. He reminded himself to frequently sketch the universe in his mind, with all its myriad relationships, and to always remember how small his own share of it truly was. He wrote that many of the things that agitate us do so because of the narrow little view we take of them. The goal is not to make your life feel meaningless, but to liberate you from the false urgency of minor troubles. That sharp comment from a colleague that ruined your morning, or the frustration of a delayed package, how do these feel when viewed from the edge of the galaxy? They lose their power, replaced by a quiet, humbling calm. The next time you feel a social anxiety beginning to tighten your chest before a party or a meeting, pause for just 10 seconds. Instead of focusing on your own nervousness, pull back the camera in your mind. See the entire building from the outside, then the neighborhood, then the continent. Remember that in this single moment, millions of people are laughing, arguing, working, and dreaming. Your own moment of discomfort is one small thread in an immense living tapestry. This perspective does not erase the feeling, but it places a cushion of space around it, preventing it from consuming you. Bring to mind a recent worry that felt all-consuming. Now consciously expand your frame of reference. First, see the room you are in. Then, visualize your entire town or city. Now, picture the whole planet spinning through the blackness of space. Finally, hold the image of the countless stars in our galaxy. Do you feel that subtle shift, that quieting of the inner noise? Your problem has not vanished, but it has been put in its proper place, no longer a giant blocking your path, but a single stone on a very long road. The Stoics did not just endure fate, they learned to love it passionately. This radical embrace is the core of Amor Fati, a love of one's fate, where every event, especially the difficult and unexpected, is welcomed as fuel for your inner fire. It is the ultimate shift from seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance to becoming the grateful architect of your own character. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Stoic thought, later captured this spirit perfectly when he wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati, the desire for nothing to be different, not in the future, not in the past, not for all eternity." This is not a passive resignation. It is an active, joyful acceptance that seeks the hidden advantage in every single obstacle placed before you. Think of a mighty oak tree. Its strength does not come from growing in a sheltered greenhouse, but from weathering every storm, from having its roots challenged by rock and its trunk shaped by relentless wind. The very forces that could break a weaker tree are what make the oak unbreakable. Your life is no different. The setbacks, the rejections, the plans that fall apart, these are not interruptions to your path. They are the path itself, the necessary friction that grinds and polishes your spirit. Consider the story of Thomas Edison. When his laboratory, filled with years of priceless research and prototypes, was destroyed in a devastating fire, he did not collapse in despair. He reportedly told his son, "There is great value in disaster. All our mistakes are burned up. Thank God we can start anew." The very next day, he began rebuilding, energized and unburdened by the past. He loved his fate, not the fire itself, but the opportunity for renewal it forced upon him. He saw the clean slate. Now, bring to mind one recent difficulty in your own life, a frustration, a disappointment, a plan that failed. Instead of resisting it, try this simple reframe. Ask yourself, what if this happened for me, not to me? What is the gift hidden within this situation? Did it teach you patience? Did it reveal a true friend? Did it force you to develop a skill you had been neglecting? That argument might have shown you a boundary you needed to set. That missed opportunity might have cleared the way for something better suited to your true path. By loving your fate, you are not approving of the hardship. You are trusting in your own capacity to alchemize it into strength. The most honest conversation you will have all day is the one you write down in silence. This private dialogue is the heart of the fifth Stoic tactic, the daily practice of journaling for self-examination. While the previous tactics give you the map and the compass for your journey, this is the tool you use to check your bearings and correct your course each and every night. It transforms philosophy from an abstract idea into a lived, daily discipline. Seneca was a fervent advocate of this practice. In his letters, he described his own nightly ritual of self-interrogation. He would ask himself, what evils have you cured yourself of today? What fault have you resisted? In what aspect are you better? His journal was not a diary of events, but an audit of his soul, a space for brutal honesty and gentle correction. The goal was never self-condemnation, but self-knowledge and steady progress. To begin your own practice, you need nothing more than a notebook and 5 minutes of quiet. A simple 3-question template can guide your reflection. First, ask yourself, what did I do well today? Look for moments where you acted with virtue. Perhaps you showed patience in a frustrating situation or courage in speaking a difficult truth. Acknowledge and reinforce these victories. Second, ask, where did I let externals disturb my inner peace? Did a negative comment from a coworker hijack your mood for hours? Did anxiety over a future event you cannot control steal your present moment contentment? Identify the specific judgment that caused the disturbance. And third, based on this awareness, ask, what will I do differently tomorrow? This is not about crafting a grand plan, but a single, small intention. Perhaps it is, I will remind myself that another person's opinion is not within my control, or I will take 3 deep breaths before responding to a provocation. This process closes the day with clarity, not clutter. It allows you to lay your head down having learned from your mistakes and celebrated your growth. So tonight, before you sleep, find a quiet space, open your notebook and spend just 5 minutes with these 3 questions. This is not another item on your to-do list. It is a gift you give to your future self, a nightly ritual that builds 1 page at a time, the unbreakable self-mastery you are seeking. Before you react, insert a moment of space between the event and your judgment of it. This is cognitive distancing, your mind's pause button, and it is the 6th tactic for unbreakable self-mastery. It is the simple, profound act of catching your automatic thoughts before they become your reality. The Stoic teacher Epictetus gave us the core of this idea 2,000 years ago. He taught that men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. The event itself is neutral. It is the story you instantly tell yourself about the event that creates the storm of emotion. That story is the initial impression, and cognitive distancing is the skill of holding that impression at arm's length for examination, rather than letting it dictate your state of mind. Think of your mind as a courtroom. Your initial gut reaction is like an impassioned lawyer making a dramatic opening statement. This lawyer is convincing, but he is not the judge. Cognitive distancing is you taking the bench, gavel in hand, and deciding whether the lawyer's argument holds any real merit. You are creating a gap, however small, between the stimulus and your final verdict. This gap is where your freedom lies. Imagine you receive an email from your boss that says, "We need to talk about your latest report." Your initial impression might scream, "I'm in trouble, my work is bad, I'm going to be reprimanded." That feeling of dread and defensiveness is immediate and powerful, but with cognitive distancing, you catch that thought. You label it as just an impression. Then from the bench, you examine the evidence. The email is just a statement of fact. It contains no anger, no criticism. It is a simple request for a conversation. The judgment "I am in trouble" is a story you added, not a reality you must accept. By creating that space, you can choose a different, more rational judgment, such as, "My boss likely has questions or needs clarification. I will prepare calmly for the meeting." This practice transforms your relationship with your own mind. You are no longer a prisoner of your first thoughts, but their observer. Recall a recent time you felt a sharp surge of anger or a deep wave of sadness. What was the specific impression that triggered it? Was it a friend arriving late, and the story you told yourself was that they do not respect your time? Was it a project setback, and the immediate judgment was that you are a failure? Identify that first automatic story. Then play the judge. Ask yourself, is this story absolutely true? What is another, more neutral or even generous way to view this same event? By routinely inserting this moment of space, you are not suppressing your emotions. You are simply refusing to be ruled by their initial, often deceptive whispers. You are building a mind that responds with reason instead of reacting from impulse. What if making yourself a little uncomfortable today makes you unbreakable tomorrow? This is the seventh Stoic tactic, the deliberate practice of voluntary discomfort. It is not about punishing yourself, but about inoculating your spirit against the softness that luxury can breed. You are training for adversity, ensuring that when fortune withdraws her gifts, as she inevitably will, you do not break. You remain standing, fortified from within. Seneca wrote extensively on this, urging his readers to set aside a certain number of days each month to be content with the scantiest and cheapest food, with coarse clothing, and to ask oneself, is this what I used to dread? The goal is to prove to yourself that the conditions you fear are survivable, and in that proof, you discover a profound and lasting confidence. The modern applications are simple and safe. It could be taking a cold shower for the final minute of your morning routine, a deliberate shock to the system that wakes you up to your own resilience. It could be skipping a meal to understand the difference between true hunger and mere habit, or choosing to walk for an hour on a cold day instead of driving your warm car. You might even decide to sleep on the floor for a single night, just to remind your body that comfort is a bonus, not a birthright. Each of these small acts is a message to your deepest self. It says, I am not fragile, I can handle hardship, I am more than my possessions and my pleasures. This practice does two powerful things at once. It builds your resilience muscle, making you tougher for life's genuine challenges, and it simultaneously ignites a deep, authentic gratitude for the ordinary comforts you usually take for granted. That first sip of warm coffee after a cold walk feels like a blessing. The comfort of your own bed after a night on the floor feels like a luxury. You break the spell of entitlement and see your life with fresh, appreciative eyes. So your challenge for this week is to choose one small, voluntary discomfort. It must be safe and manageable, but it should be something you would normally avoid. What will it be? Will you leave your coat behind on a chilly errand? Will you fast from dinner until breakfast tomorrow? Will you take the cold shower? Choose one, and in that conscious choice, you are not just enduring discomfort, you are commanding it, and in doing so, you are forging a core of steel that no external circumstance can ever melt. Keep the finite nature of life at the forefront of your mind, not to fear it, but to fuel your actions. This is the 8th Stoic tactic, the ancient practice of Memento Mori, remembering you must die. Far from being a morbid obsession, this is a profound tool for clarifying your priorities and infusing your days with a fierce and purposeful urgency. The Stoics saw the remembrance of death as the ultimate wake-up call, a constant whisper that cuts through the noise of trivial concerns and forces you to confront what is genuinely meaningful. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He did not write this in despair, but as a daily reminder to live virtuously now, not in some distant, hypothetical future. The point is to use the reality of your own end to magnify the value of your present moment. Think of an hourglass with the sand steadily falling. You cannot stop the flow, but you can choose what you build with the sand you have. Remembering the hourglass does not paralyze you, it focuses you. It asks the most important question you will ever face: is what I am doing right now worthy of my limited and precious time? A powerful way to practice this is to begin each morning with a simple acknowledgement. Before you check your phone or start your routine, take just 30 seconds of silence. Look out the window and say to yourself, "This day could be my last." This is not a statement of fear, but of power. It instantly filters your entire to-do list. Suddenly, scrolling through social media feels hollow, while telling a family member you love them feels essential. That difficult project you have been putting off, the one that truly matters to you, gains a new and irresistible pull. The pettiness of holding a grudge, the anxiety over a minor mistake, all of it melts away under the sobering light of this truth. So now, ask yourself this reflective question with complete honesty. If you knew for certain you had only 1 month left to live, what would you stop doing immediately, and what would you start? The things you would stop are the drains on your spirit, the compromises, the people-pleasing, the busy work. The things you would start are your true priorities, the unwritten book, the reconciliation, the deep conversations, the quiet moments of awe. Memento Mori is not about dying. It is the key to living a life so full and vibrant that when the final grain of sand falls, you can look back without a single regret. Your first thought is rarely your best, so you must learn to guard the gates of your mind. This is the discipline of assent, the 9th Stoic tactic and your most powerful defense against being hijacked by runaway emotions. It is the rigorous practice of pausing before you grant your inner approval to any initial impression, choosing instead to examine it in the cold light of reason before you let it shape your reality. Epictetus laid out this mental architecture with stunning clarity. He explained that an impression, like a sudden feeling of insult, first strikes your mind. This is involuntary, but then, he said, comes your assent, your official agreement that this impression is true and accurate. It is this act of assent that locks the feeling in place and unleashes the emotional storm. We are not disturbed by the initial impression itself, but by our own complicity in certifying it as fact. Think of your mind as a fortified castle. every impression, every thought and feeling arrives at the gate demanding entry. The undisciplined mind flings the gates open for every loud and angry visitor, allowing panic, resentment, and fear to storm the halls. The discipline of assent trains you to be the vigilant gatekeeper. You stand at the gate and demand to see the credentials of every thought before you grant it passage. You ask, is this visitor telling the whole truth, or is it a deceiver in convincing disguise? Take a common scenario. A close friend walks past you in a crowded street without acknowledging you. The initial impression, the first visitor at your gate, screams, "He ignored me on purpose. He is angry with me. He does not value our friendship." This impression brings with it a sharp pang of hurt and a wave of insecurity. Without the discipline of assent, you would immediately swing the gates wide open. You would assent to that story, and the feelings of betrayal would flood in, perhaps ruining your entire afternoon and poisoning your next interaction with him. But as the Stoic gatekeeper, you pause. You hold that impression at the gate and interrogate it. You ask, is it absolutely true that he saw me? Could he have been lost in thought, worrying about a sick relative or a pressing problem at work? Might his vision be poor, or was he simply in a hurry? By withholding your immediate assent, you create a space of possibility. You realize the story you were about to believe is just one of many interpretations, and very likely not the most rational one. The feeling of hurt may still linger at the gate, but you have denied it the power to occupy your inner castle. Your peace remains intact because you chose not to certify the lie. Your practice for today is to become a watcher at your own gates. Pick one single situation where you feel a sudden negative judgment arise. It could be irritation at a slow driver or anxiety from a brief, vague text message. The moment you feel that initial impression, consciously say to yourself, either out loud or in your mind, I do not yet assent to this. See that thought as merely a suggestion, not a command. This simple phrase is your gatekeeper's declaration. It is the pause that returns the scepter of control to your hand, ensuring that your inner kingdom is ruled by reason, not by the first loud shout from the outside world. See yourself not as an isolated individual, but as a limb of the greater body of humanity. This is the 10th Stoic tactic, the principle of Sympatheia, a profound sense of interconnectedness that binds you to every other person and to the cosmos itself. Your well-being is not separate from the whole, and when you act against another, you are, in a very real sense, acting against a part of yourself. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this image in his private thoughts. He wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." He saw the universe as a single living organism, woven together in an intricate, divine web, where every thread supports the whole. To see yourself in this light is to dissolve the illusion of separation that creates so much of our inner conflict and loneliness. It fosters a natural empathy, reminding you that the stranger who cuts you off in traffic, the colleague who disagrees with you, even the person you consider an opponent, is driven by the same fundamental desires for safety, belonging, and happiness that you are. Their methods may be flawed, their understanding limited, just as yours can be at times, but their core humanity is identical to your own. This perspective does not ask you to approve of bad behavior, but to understand its source, which allows you to respond with clarity rather than blind rage. Consider a moment when you feel a sharp anger rising toward someone. Perhaps a family member has made a selfish decision, or a co-worker has taken credit for your work. The untrained mind sees only an enemy, a separate entity causing you harm. But with the lens of Sympatheia, you pull back the camera. You see this person as a product of their own struggles, their own fears, and their own mistaken judgments about what is good for them. You recognize that their action, however hurtful, comes from a place of ignorance, not some inherent evil directed solely at you. They are a confused limb of the same body, lashing out in a way they believe will help them, but which ultimately harms the whole and therefore themselves. Your response can then shift from retaliation to a more profound and effective form of correction, one aimed at healing the body, not severing the limb. So bring to mind one person with whom you currently have a conflict, large or small. Now, instead of focusing on your differences or your grievances, make a conscious search for a single thing you share in common as human beings. Perhaps you both know the fear of failure. Maybe you both love the same child, or you both feel the same exhaustion at the end of a long day. You both desire to be respected. You both have experienced loss. In finding that one shared thread, you perform a quiet act of alchemy. The other person is no longer a mere obstacle or adversary. They become a fellow traveler on the same difficult road, and your conflict becomes a miscommunication between two parts of the same whole, a problem to be solved together, not a battle to be won. There is a profound power in knowing when to stop fighting reality and instead flow with it. This is the 11th tactic, the Art of Acquiescence, a strategic surrender to the events you cannot change. Do not mistake this for weakness or passive resignation. It is an act of conscious intelligence, a choice to conserve your precious energy for the battles you can actually win, rather than exhausting yourself against immovable walls. The Stoic teacher Epictetus offered the perfect formula for this. He said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This is the essence of wise acquiescence, a seamless dance between vigorous action in your own sphere and graceful acceptance of everything outside it. Think of a mighty river. You can stand on the bank, raging against the current, trying to push the water back upstream with your bare hands. You will only end up exhausted, cold, and defeated. Or you can accept the river's flow, step into a boat, and use your energy to skillfully steer, using the very current that once opposed you to carry you forward. The river has not changed, but your relationship to it has transformed completely. Now consider the all-too-common frustration of a cancelled flight. You can feel the anger boil as you stand at the gate, protesting to the airline staff, mentally calculating all the dominoes of your plans as they fall. This is the fight against reality, but the flight is cancelled. That fact is now a part of the unchangeable past. Acquiescence is the moment you take a deep breath and consciously release that tension. You stop arguing with what is. This is not giving up, it is waking up to the new landscape of the present moment. With a calm mind, you can now effectively use the power you do have. You can get in line to rebook, you can find a hotel, you can call the people who were expecting you. The problem remains, but your panic is gone, replaced by clear-headed problem solving. So bring to mind one situation in your own life that you are currently resisting, a personal conflict that seems frozen, a project that has stalled, a change you did not want. For just a moment, stop pushing against it. Acknowledge the reality of the situation exactly as it is, without the layer of your protest. Then, ask yourself this simple question: what becomes possible now that I have stopped fighting what I cannot change? In that quiet space of acquiescence, you will find not defeat, but a surprising and potent form of freedom. What would a perfectly rational and courageous person do in your situation? This simple question is the engine of the 12th Stoic tactic, the contemplation of the ideal sage. You are not aiming for an impossible standard of perfection, but creating a North Star for your own ethical behavior, a constant guide to steer you toward your best self. The Stoics fully acknowledged that this sage, this figure of flawless wisdom and virtue, was an exceedingly rare ideal. Yet they insisted that keeping this model in mind provided an unwavering compass for navigating the murky waters of daily choice. It turns abstract philosophy into a personal counsel for every decision you face. Before you speak in anger or shy away from a necessary duty or face a tempting compromise, you pause and consult this inner counsel of one. You are not asking what is easiest or what will make you most popular. You are asking what action aligns with ultimate wisdom and courage. This shifts your entire frame of reference from external consequences to internal integrity. Imagine you are in a business meeting and a colleague presents an idea you know is fundamentally flawed, but everyone else seems to be enthusiastically supporting it. The easy path is to stay silent to avoid the social friction, but then you ask the question, what would the ideal sage do? The sage, acting with courage and a commitment to truth, would find a respectful and clear way to voice the necessary concern for the good of the whole project. The sage would not be deterred by temporary discomfort. This does not mean you will execute it with the sage's perfect grace, but it gives you a direction to move toward. Your aim is not to perfectly replicate the sage's action, but to ensure your own action is pointed in the same virtuous direction. Now, take a moment to define the 3 key traits of your own ideal sage. Perhaps for you, they are unwavering courage, profound calmness, and radical honesty. These are your personal North Stars. Then, choose just one of those traits and make it your focus for today. How can you embody a fraction more calmness in a single stressful moment? How can you practice a little more honesty in a difficult conversation? By holding this ideal in your mind, you are not highlighting your own flaws. You are drawing your character upward like a plant grows steadily toward the light. Remove the drama by describing your problem as a neutral observer would. This is the 13th tactic for self-mastery, the practice of objective description, and it is your mental scalpel for cutting away the emotional inflammation that surrounds any painful event. Your suffering is rarely caused by the raw facts alone, but by the vivid, value-laden story you instinctively wrap around them. The Stoics knew that our judgments color our reality, and by stripping an event back to its bare, neutral components, you reclaim your power to choose your response. Marcus Aurelius dedicated himself to this practice, constantly urging himself to see things as they are, in their essence, stripped bare of the accounts we attach to them. He called this seeing the thing itself, undyed by judgment. It is the difference between seeing a splash of red paint and declaring it a masterpiece or an eyesore before you have even looked at the shape on the canvas. Your mind is a master storyteller, and in moments of pain, it writes tragedies. A simple event like receiving critical feedback becomes the story of my boss humiliated me in front of everyone. The objective description pares this down to the observable facts. My boss stated critical feedback about my report in a group setting. Feel the profound difference in those two statements. The first is a narrative of personal attack, loaded with shame and anger. The second is a simple report of what occurred, a sequence of actions that leaves your inner peace intact and your mind clear to address the actual content of the feedback. The event has not changed, but your relationship to it has been utterly transformed. Apply this to a personal worry. The story might be, my relationship is falling apart and I am going to end up alone. This is a terrifying, all-consuming narrative. Now, apply the scalpel of objective description. What are the specific, observable facts? My partner and I had 2 disagreements this week about household responsibilities, and we have not scheduled our usual weekend time together. This factual description is manageable. It identifies a specific problem that can be addressed, rather than a catastrophic fate that must be feared. It moves you from a state of helpless dread to a state of potential problem solving. Your challenge is to take one current worry and perform this act of mental alchemy right now. Write down a single, purely factual sentence that describes the situation. Strip it of all dramatic language, of all words like devastated, betrayed, humiliated, or doomed. Reduce it to the who, what, when, and where, as if you were a journalist reporting the facts for a newspaper. This is not about denying your feelings, but about creating a small space of clarity where your reason can once again take the lead, guiding you calmly toward your next right step. In a world of constant noise, the most powerful statement is often silence. This is the 14th tactic, the discipline of purposeful silence, a practice that conserves your mental energy and shields you from the regret that so often follows rash speech. While others fill the air with chatter and gossip, you cultivate a quiet strength, choosing to listen deeply and speak only when your words can add genuine value. Seneca saw immense power in this restraint, writing, "Be silent for the most part, or if you speak, say just what is necessary and in a few words." He understood that every word spoken is a piece of your energy spent, and foolish or angry speech is energy wasted, often creating conflicts that could have been easily avoided. This is not about being shy or withdrawn, but about being strategically quiet, mastering the impulse to immediately react or to fill an empty space with meaningless sound. Think of a pot of water coming to a boil. The bubbles rise and break with chaotic noise, but the deepest power lies in the still, hot water beneath the surface, the energy contained and ready for a purpose. Your silence is that deep, contained power. To practice this, choose one conversation today, perhaps with a colleague or a family member, and make a conscious decision to shift the balance. Your goal is not to be mute, but to listen with your entire being. Focus completely on understanding their words, their tone, and the meaning behind their eyes. Resist the urge to interrupt, to formulate your response while they are still talking, or to share a similar story of your own. Simply receive. You will be amazed at what you hear when you are not busy preparing to speak. You will notice subtleties you normally miss, and you will give the other person a rare and precious gift, the feeling of being truly heard. So your challenge is to observe one conversation today where you consciously choose to hold your tongue at a moment you would normally speak. It might be when you feel the urge to gossip, to defend yourself from a minor criticism, or to offer unsolicited advice. In that space of chosen silence, pay close attention. What do you learn about the other person? What do you learn about your own automatic impulses? This single act of restraint is not passive. It is an active cultivation of inner power, building a calm center that no outside noise can ever disrupt. Pursue your goals with all your heart, but always add the silent phrase, "if nothing prevents me." This is the 15th tactic, the reserve clause, a mental caveat that protects your peace when the world refuses to cooperate with your plans. It is a plan for plans failing, a way to hold your intentions with an open hand rather than a white-knuckle grip. The Stoics taught that we should be causally attached to our own actions, giving them our full effort and virtue, but only conditionally attached to the outcomes, which are never fully ours to command. You are the captain of your ship, responsible for plotting the course and steering with skill, but you cannot control the sea itself. The reserve clause is your acknowledgement of the weather, your acceptance that a sudden storm may yet force you to change your heading. Think of planning a long-awaited outdoor wedding. You pour your energy into every detail, from the flowers to the seating chart. But alongside that diligent planning, you also make a quiet peace with the possibility of rain. You have a backup location in mind. This mental preparation does not diminish your hope for a sunny day. It simply insulates you from devastation if the clouds gather. When you add fate permitting to your goal, you are not inviting failure. You are building a foundation of resilience that allows you to adapt without collapsing into frustration. Your ambition remains fierce, but your happiness is no longer held hostage by a specific result. Now, bring to mind one goal you are deeply attached to right now, perhaps a promotion you're working toward, a vacation you have saved for, or a creative project you are pouring yourself into. Feel the strength of that desire. Now mentally rehearse adding the reserve clause. Whisper to yourself, I will give this my absolute best effort, fate permitting. Feel the subtle but profound shift that occurs. The weight of expectation lightens. The fear of disappointment loosens its grip. You are still committed, but you are also free, ready to accept whatever result the world offers and to find your next right move from there with your inner balance perfectly intact. The obstacle is not in the way, the obstacle is the way. This 16th tactic transforms every barrier you encounter from a roadblock into the very path forward. It is the ultimate alchemy of the spirit, taking the raw material of frustration and forging it into the refined gold of character. You are not merely enduring what happens to you, you are actively using it as the whetstone to sharpen your virtues. This is proactive resilience in its purest form, a declaration that nothing which enters your life is useless if you know how to work with it. Marcus Aurelius, facing endless political intrigue and military campaigns, wrote this powerful instruction to himself: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He saw each difficulty not as a deviation from his purpose, but as an integral part of it, a specific training ground provided by life itself. A traffic jam, for instance, is a universal annoyance. The common reaction is to fume, to stress, to feel your precious time being stolen. But with this Stoic lens, you reframe the entire event. This jam is not an interruption of your day. It is your scheduled practice for the virtue of patience. It is a forced pause, an opportunity to practice deep breathing, to observe the world outside your window without judgment, or to listen to that educational podcast you never have time for, thereby practicing mindfulness and a love of learning. The obstacle has not moved, but you have transformed it from a thief into a teacher. So bring to mind one current obstacle in your own life. It could be a difficult person, a financial strain, or a personal limitation. Now ask yourself this crucial question: what single virtue does this situation invite me to practice? Is it patience, courage, perseverance, creativity, or perhaps humility? If your project is stalled, it is a call to practice creative problem solving. If a person is difficult, it is your arena for practicing understanding and setting clear boundaries with compassion. By naming the virtue, you shift your entire focus from what is being done to you to what you are choosing to become through it. The challenge remains, but it is now wearing the uniform of your personal trainer, and every rep makes you stronger. Before the world makes its demands, sit in silence and prepare your mind for what may come. This is the 17th tactic, a morning ritual the Stoics called Premeditation of Evils, the premeditation of the day. It is your quiet time to arm yourself not with weapons, but with intention, transforming potential frustrations into rehearsed opportunities for virtue. You are inoculating your spirit against the surprise of irritations, ensuring you meet them with a calm and ready heart. Marcus Aurelius began his days with this very practice, writing in his private journal that each morning he should tell himself, "Today I shall be meeting with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness." He did not do this to start his day with dread, but to strip these future events of their power to shock him. By anticipating them, he could pre-decide that none of these things would injure him, for he would not consent to be harmed. Your own preparation can be beautifully simple and take only 2 minutes. Before you check your phone or rush into your routine, find a moment of stillness. Mentally walk through the skeleton of your day ahead. See your schedule, your meetings, your commute. Now, identify just 1 or 2 points where friction is likely to occur. Perhaps it is that mid-morning conference call where a certain colleague often criticizes your ideas. Instead of dreading it, you now rehearse it. In your mind's eye, see yourself listening calmly as he speaks. Watch yourself taking a slow breath instead of tensing up. Hear yourself responding with clarity and respect, focusing on the issue and not the personal jab. You are not predicting the future, you are preparing your response. You are building a neural pathway of calm so that when the real moment arrives, your virtuous reaction feels familiar, almost automatic. Another might be the rush to get the children out the door for school. Rehearse the potential for spilled milk or misplaced shoes. See yourself pausing, helping with a quiet smile, and keeping the atmosphere light. You are programming your default setting for the day, so your invitation is this. For the next 3 days, commit to this 2-minute mental run through each morning. After those 3 days, pause and ask yourself a single question. Did I find myself reacting with less heat and more light when the predictable challenges arose? This small investment of silence at the dawn is not about controlling your day, but about fortifying the one thing you truly can command, your own mind, turning it into a sanctuary of peace no outer storm can penetrate. Fight against reality and you will lose 100% of the time. Start by accepting what is. This is the 18th Stoic tactic, the it is what it is mindset, a radical and immediate acceptance of the present moment exactly as you find it. This is not a slogan of defeat, but a declaration of clear sight. It is the necessary ground on which you must stand before you can take any effective step forward. Complaining about the ground does not change it, it only wastes the energy you need for walking. The Stoic teacher Epictetus anchored his entire philosophy on this unshakable foundation. He taught that happiness and freedom begin with this one realization, the willingness to accept whatever happens as something that was meant for you and which could not have happened otherwise. The nature of the universe is what it is, and your peace depends on making your will conform to its events, not the other way around. Think of a doctor arriving at an accident scene. She does not waste a single second bemoaning the fact that the accident happened. She accepts the scene instantly with all its blood and chaos. It is what it is. That clear-eyed acceptance is what allows her to then apply her skill and training with maximum effectiveness. Her compassion is not in her lament, but in her immediate, focused action. Now apply this to the most mundane of modern frustrations, a long, slow-moving queue at the grocery store. The common reaction is an internal battle. You sigh, you shift your weight, you glare at the cashier, you mentally curse the person with the full cart. This internal struggle against the simple fact of the queue drains your energy and poisons your mood, all while doing absolutely nothing to speed up the line. The Stoic shift is to drop the struggle. You look at the line and you silently acknowledge it is what it is. This reality is now your present moment. With the energy you were spending on resistance, you now have a choice. You can use this unexpected pause productively, perhaps by planning your evening meal in detail or answering a personal email. Or you can use it mindfully, simply observing the sounds of the store, feeling your feet on the floor, and taking a series of calm, deep breaths. The queue has not gotten any shorter, but your suffering about the queue has vanished. Your practice for the coming days is to turn this phrase into a mental trigger. The next time you feel that familiar surge of resistance to a minor inconvenience, a spilled drink, a sudden downpour, a missed bus, pause for just 1 second and say to yourself, either out loud or in your mind, it is what it is. Feel the internal argument stop. Feel the tension release its grip. In that quiet space of acceptance, you will find a surprising power, the power to respond to the world as it actually is, and to begin building your next moment from a place of unshakable truth. The Stoics teach that our true worth is not found in what we have, but in how we use what we have. This is the core of the 19th tactic, cultivating an indifference to indifference, a concept that sounds contradictory until you grasp its liberating precision. The Stoics created a powerful taxonomy for everything in life. On one side, they placed the only true goods, the virtues, your wisdom, your courage, your justice, and your self-discipline. Everything else, your health, your wealth, your reputation, even your own body, they classified as indifferents. The term does not mean these things are worthless or should be ignored. It means they lack the inherent power to make you good or bad, happy or miserable. Their moral value depends entirely on how you use them. A tool is neither good nor evil, only its application by the one who wields it. Early Stoic philosophers like Zeno and Chrysippus meticulously laid out this distinction to free us from a life of emotional slavery to external outcomes. They further divided these indifferents into preferred and dispreferred. It is natural to prefer health over sickness, wealth over poverty, a good reputation over slander. These are the preferred indifferents, things we can rationally choose to pursue. But the moment we treat them as essential for our happiness, we hand over the keys to our inner peace to the fickle whims of fortune. Your happiness must remain rooted in your virtuous character, a fortress that stands firm whether you are enjoying a preferred indifferent or enduring a dispreferred one. Consider the pursuit of wealth, a classic preferred indifferent. Pursuing it virtuously means seeing it as a resource for providing for your family, for creating opportunities, for supporting causes you believe in. You work diligently and ethically, but your self-esteem is not tied to your bank balance. If a market shift or an unexpected event diminishes your wealth, you feel the practical inconvenience, but your core happiness, built on your integrity and effort, remains unshaken. You used wealth well while you had it, and you will use poverty well if it comes. The anxious and attached person, however, pursues wealth as the source of their worth. They lie and cut corners to get it, and they live in constant fear of its loss. For them, a financial setback is not a practical problem. It is a personal catastrophe, a shattering of their identity. The Stoic goal is to want the preferred indifferents, but not to need them for your peace of mind. So take a quiet moment and list 3 preferred indifferents in your own life. It could be your physical fitness, your social media following, or the comfort of your home. Now, look at each one and ask yourself with complete honesty, is my happiness overly dependent on this thing remaining exactly as it is? If you lost it, would your inner citadel crumble, or would it stand, perhaps a little weathered, but fundamentally strong and secure? This honest reflection is the first step in reclaiming your freedom, ensuring that your joy is built on the unshakable ground of your own character, not the shifting sands of external fortune. The quickest path to feeling rich is to take inventory of what you already possess. This is the 20th Stoic tactic, the daily practice of gratitude, a conscious and specific acknowledgement of the good that already fills your life. Stoic gratitude is not a passive feeling, it is an active defense against the endless hunger of desire, a deliberate choice to see the world through a lens of sufficiency rather than scarcity. It is the recognition that every breath, every moment of comfort, every person who shows you kindness is a gift from the universe, not a guaranteed entitlement you were owed. Marcus Aurelius began his own days with this powerful mental exercise, meticulously listing the things he was grateful for in his private journal. He wrote of his gratitude for his grandfather's good character, for the father who gave him a reputation to live up to, for his mother who taught him piety, and even for the good health he had enjoyed for so long. He was not simply counting blessings, he was actively weaving a tapestry of interconnected goodness, reminding himself that his life was supported by a vast web of contributions, both seen and unseen. To weave this into your own life, adopt a simple daily habit. Each evening, as you prepare for sleep, mentally note 3 specific things you are grateful for from the day. The key is to move beyond the general. Do not just say you are grateful for your family. Be specific. Be grateful for the way your child laughed uncontrollably at a silly joke. Be grateful for the warmth of the sun on your skin during your walk. Be grateful for the clean water that came from your tap, or for the fact that your body carried you through the day without pain. By focusing on these simple, often overlooked details, you perform an act of mental alchemy. The ordinary becomes extraordinary, and a deep, abiding contentment begins to displace the restless ache for more. So take out a piece of paper or simply pause right where you are and write down 5 things you are grateful for in this very moment. But challenge yourself. Make at least 3 of them things you typically take for granted, the silent, invisible foundations of your life that you have perhaps never stopped to thank. Whatever you do, do it as if it were the last thing you were ever doing. This is the 21st tactic, the practice of mindful action, an invitation to infuse every single moment with a quality of profound presence and intention. It is the art of bringing your entire being, your full attention, into the task immediately before you, no matter how small or mundane it may seem. This is not about dramatic, world-changing deeds, but about the dignity and purpose you can discover in the simplest acts of your day. Marcus Aurelius offered this powerful admonition to himself, writing, "Do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life." He was not being morbid, but was instead highlighting the incredible focus and integrity that arises when you treat the present moment as if it held your entire legacy. When you act as if it is your final action, there is no room for half-hearted effort, for distraction, or for rushing to get to the next thing. The action itself becomes a complete and perfect expression of your character in that moment. This philosophy is the ultimate antidote to the fragmented attention of modern multitasking. When you try to do several things at once, you are not truly doing any of them well. You are splitting your energy, increasing your likelihood of errors, and living in a state of constant mental agitation. You are physically present but spiritually absent. Mindful action calls you back, insisting that you be fully here now. Consider the simple act of washing a single dish. Normally, you might rush through it, your mind already on the next chore, the television show in the other room, or a problem at work. The dish is merely an obstacle to be cleared, but when you perform this same action mindfully, you feel the warmth of the water on your skin. You notice the shimmer of the soap bubbles and the smooth curve of the plate. You give the action your complete care, as if the entire world depended on this one plate being cleaned perfectly. In that focused attention, a mundane chore is transformed into a meditation, an anchor to the present that calms your entire nervous system. The same principle applies to writing an email. Instead of typing while distracted, you pause. You bring your full focus to the person who will receive your words. You consider your intention, you choose your language with care, and you compose the message as if it were the only communication you would ever send them. The email becomes not just a piece of information, but a thoughtful, purposeful act. Your challenge is to choose one routine activity you will perform today with this level of mindful attention. It could be tying your shoes, drinking your morning tea, or walking to your car. For the duration of that one action, let everything else fall away. Be completely there. Notice the sensations, the movements, the quiet purpose in the act itself. In doing so, you will discover that a life of greatness is not built on a few grand gestures, but on thousands of small actions, each performed with the focused intensity of a final, perfect gift. True freedom is found not in denying pleasure, but in choosing it consciously. This is the 20-second tactic, the pause before pleasure, a simple yet profound practice that places you back in control of your desires. It is the act of inserting a deliberate moment of reflection between the initial impulse for a pleasure and your decision to indulge in it, ensuring that your choices remain moderate and serve your well-being, rather than controlling you like a hidden master. The goal is to enjoy life's sweetness without becoming its slave, to taste the honey without getting stuck in the jar. Seneca addressed this with his characteristic clarity, writing, "It is the sign of a great mind to dislike pleasures, but to use them." He understood that the wise person is not an ascetic who flees from enjoyment, but a master who uses pleasures as tools, picking them up and setting them down with intentionality, never allowing them to dictate the terms of his life. Without this conscious pause, pleasure can subtly transform from a welcome guest into a demanding tyrant. That first bite of dessert is a genuine delight, but eaten mindlessly, the entire slice can vanish without you even tasting it, leaving only a dull regret. A few minutes on social media can be a pleasant diversion, but without a conscious start, it can easily bleed into an hour of envious scrolling, leaving you feeling emptier than before. The pause is your circuit breaker. It is the moment you reclaim your sovereignty. The practice itself is beautifully simple. Before you engage in that common pleasure, whether it is reaching for a second glass of wine, clicking on a new streaming episode when you are already tired, or buying an item on impulse, you simply stop. You take one single, deep breath. In the space of that breath, you ask yourself one quiet question: is this truly beneficial for me right now? The answer is not always no. Sometimes it is a resounding yes, and you can then enjoy the experience fully without guilt because you have chosen it with awareness. Other times, you will realize that the impulse is coming from a place of boredom, anxiety, or habit, and that indulging it will not truly serve you. In that moment of recognition, you have the power to gently set it aside. Your spirit feels lighter, stronger for having made the conscious choice. So identify one common pleasure in your own life, perhaps your afternoon coffee, the compulsion to check notifications, or the desire for a sweet treat after dinner. For the rest of today, make a pact with yourself to insert that one breath, that one moment of conscious questioning before you automatically give in. This is not about deprivation, but about empowerment. You are not saying no to pleasure. You are saying yes to your own self-mastery, proving that you are the one who holds the reins. Just as the body needs food, the soul needs the daily nourishment of wisdom. This is the 23rd tactic, a commitment to reading and rereading the masters of Stoicism. You are not approaching these texts to gather new information, but to experience a profound transformation and a necessary reminder. It is the mental equivalent of recalibrating a compass, ensuring your inner guidance system always points toward true north. The words of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus are not meant to be read once and placed on a shelf. They are designed to be absorbed slowly, repeatedly, until their wisdom becomes the very rhythm of your thoughts. Seneca captured the spirit of this practice when he wrote in his letters that we should linger among a limited number of master thinkers and digest their works so that they can sustain the mind and relieve it of its uncertainty. This is the difference between casual reading and deep study, between skimming for facts and feasting for the soul. To begin your own practice, create a short list of essential passages. From Marcus Aurelius, consider his reminder that the universe is change and life is opinion. From Seneca, reflect on his teaching that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. From Epictetus, return to the foundational truth that some things are up to us and some are not. These are not mere quotes, they are tools for living. Keep this shortlist in a small notebook or a digital file you can access easily. The practical application is more about consistency than volume. Dedicate just 5 minutes each morning to reading a single page from one of these core texts. Do not rush, read the words slowly, aloud if you can. Then close the book and ask yourself one simple question. How can I apply this single idea to one situation I might face today? If you read about accepting what is outside your control, you are mentally preparing for a delayed meeting. If you read about acting with justice, you are setting an intention to listen fully to a colleague. This daily ritual ensures that Stoic philosophy is not a theory you remember, but a lens you actively use to see your world. So now, find one Stoic quote that resonates deeply with you. It could be one we have discussed or another you discover. Write it down on a note card and place it on your bathroom mirror, or set it as the lock screen on your phone. Let this quote become your companion for the week, a constant whisper of wisdom that reshapes your perspective with every single glance. The root of all anxiety is a desire set upon things outside our control. This is the 24th Stoic tactic, the discipline of desire, a systematic retraining of your deepest wants to align only with what is virtuous and entirely within your command. While other tactics manage your reactions, this one strikes at the very source of your internal turmoil, reforming the wellspring from which your fears and frustrations flow. Epictetus began his entire manual for life with this principle, stating that freedom is secured not by the fulfillment of what you desire, but by the removal of desire itself from everything not your own. He was not advocating for a life without passion, but for a profound reorientation where your greatest passion is reserved for your own excellent character and nothing else. When your deepest yearning is to act with courage and integrity, and you are indifferent to whether the world rewards you for it, you have discovered an unassailable peace. Your happiness becomes untouchable because it is no longer tied to outcomes you cannot command. The desire for a promotion, for instance, places your serenity in the hands of a hiring committee. The desire for everyone to like you hands your self-worth over to the fickle opinions of others. The discipline of desire asks you to shift the target of your longing. Instead of desiring the promotion, you desire to work with such diligence, creativity, and teamwork that you become the obvious candidate, and then you release the outcome. Instead of desiring to be liked, you desire to act with kindness and fairness toward everyone you meet, and you become indifferent to whether they reciprocate. The virtuous action itself becomes the reward, and any external result is treated as a bonus, not a necessity. Your practice is to catch one specific desire today that depends on an external outcome. Perhaps it is the desire for a friend to agree with your point of view in a discussion, or the desire for a project to unfold exactly as you have planned it. Notice the tension that this external focus creates within you. Now perform the inner alchemy. Consciously reframe that desire. Shift your want from the friend agreeing with you to the desire to express your view with clarity and respect. Shift your want from the project going perfectly to the desire to adapt to each new challenge with creativity and patience. In this reframing, you reclaim your power. You are no longer a beggar pleading for a specific result from the universe. You become the master architect of your own actions, and in that space, true tranquility is born. Your primary duty is not to succeed, but to do the right thing for the right reason right now. This is the 25th Stoic tactic, the discipline of action, a commitment to ensure every single thing you do is directed toward the common good and performed with excellence purely for its own sake. While the discipline of desire retrains what you want, this discipline retrains what you actually do in the world, aligning your deeds with virtue regardless of recognition or result. The action itself is the point, and the quality you bring to it is its own profound reward. Marcus Aurelius constantly reinforced this in his private meditations, urging himself to do what is necessary for the common welfare and to stick to what seems just. He reminded himself that his purpose was to be a good man, and that meant every action, no matter how small, was an opportunity to express that goodness. The focus shifts entirely from the external prize, the promotion, the praise, the perfect outcome, to the internal integrity of the act. You are not working for the applause. You are working because the work itself is worthy of your best effort, and that effort contributes to the whole. Consider a team project at your workplace. The common approach is often laced with politics, with team members jockeying for visibility, aiming to present the flashiest ideas to get the most credit from the manager. The work becomes a means to an end, a transaction for personal gain. The discipline of action asks you to reframe your entire role. Your goal is not to get credit, but to ensure the project is as strong, effective, and beneficial as it can possibly be. This might mean quietly doing the unglamorous research that solidifies the foundation, or supporting a colleague's good idea, even if it overshadows your own contribution. You pour your excellence into the task for the sake of the team's success and the project's intrinsic value, not for your personal spotlight. In that shift, a remarkable thing happens. The anxiety about who gets noticed vanishes. The resentment over unequal workloads dissolves. You find a deep, quiet satisfaction in the craftsmanship of your work, in the knowledge that you acted for the benefit of all. This applies just as powerfully in your community. Volunteering to clean a local park is not about getting your name in a newsletter. It is about the simple, excellent act of restoring beauty for everyone. The action, done well and with the right intention, is a complete and virtuous circle in itself. So your challenge is to choose one single task you will perform today, perhaps a report you need to write or a chore you have been putting off. As you begin, set a clear intention. I will do this with excellence for its own sake, for the benefit it brings. Do not allow your mind to drift to the outcome, to what your boss will think, or to how quickly you can finish. Pour your full attention and care into the action itself. Feel the difference in your spirit when you are no longer a paid performer, but a dedicated craftsman of your own life, building a better world one virtuous action at a time. The pursuit of fame is a prison. The disregard for it is true freedom. This 26th tactic, cultivating a contempt for fame, is not about becoming antisocial or rude, but about liberating your self-worth from the fickle and often shallow judgments of the crowd. When you constantly seek validation from outside yourself, you hand over the keys to your happiness to people who do not know you and whose opinions change with the wind. The Stoics chose to opt out of this exhausting game entirely, building their self-esteem on the unshakable ground of their own virtuous actions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous men in the world at the time, constantly reminded himself of the emptiness of this pursuit. He wrote in his private journal how quickly all things vanish, the bodies themselves into the universe and their memories into time. And what is the nature of all popular fame? A thing of utter emptiness. He saw that the applause of the masses is as lasting as a whisper in a storm, and to base your life on capturing it is to build your house on a cloud. The practical application of this is profoundly freeing. It can be as simple as performing a small act of kindness entirely anonymously. Perhaps you pay for the coffee of the person behind you in the drive-through without waiting for a thank you, or you leave a generous tip for a cleaner with a simple note of appreciation, but no name. The good deed is its own complete reward, and the absence of any recognition purifies the intention, proving to yourself that you did it for the virtue of the act itself, not for the social credit. Another powerful practice is to consciously choose not to correct a minor, false opinion about yourself if doing so serves no real purpose. If a coworker mistakenly believes you were responsible for a small error that was actually theirs, and correcting them would only cause embarrassment without any tangible benefit, you can simply let it go. Your inner knowledge of the truth is your reputation, and it needs no external committee to certify it. This is not about being a doormat, but about demonstrating through action that your peace is more valuable than your public image. So your challenge for today is to find one single thing you believe is the right thing to do, an action that aligns with your integrity, but that you know for certain will go completely unseen and unpraised by anyone. It could be picking up litter on your walk without posting about it, or sending an encouraging text to a friend and asking them not to mention it. In that quiet, anonymous act, you will feel a unique and powerful strength, the strength of a soul that answers to its own court and finds its applause in a clear conscience. To live in accordance with nature is to understand your place within its grand, rational design. This is the 27th tactic, the Physics of Stoicism, the foundational layer that gives purpose to all the ethical practices you have learned. It is not a set of dry scientific principles, but a profound worldview that reveals a cosmos governed by a divine, intelligent force the Stoics called the Logos. Seeing yourself as an integral part of this interconnected, rational whole transforms your struggles from personal misfortunes into necessary movements in a beautiful, universal dance. The early Stoics like Zeno and Cleans taught that this universal reason, this logos, permeates everything, from the vast orbits of the planets to the smallest sprout breaking through the soil. Your own highest faculty, your reason, is a direct fragment of this cosmic intelligence. Marcus Aurelius constantly returned to this truth for strength, writing to himself, "All things are interwoven with one another, a sacred bond." What you hear is not a random chaos, but a divine order. When you truly absorb this, the command to accept your fate becomes more than a mental exercise. It becomes an act of spiritual alignment. You are not just gritting your teeth and bearing a hardship. You are trusting the intelligent flow of the universe itself, a flow of which you are an inseparable part. A powerful way to internalize this is to spend just 5 minutes quietly observing the undeniable order in the natural world around you. Watch how a tree outside your window follows an inherent blueprint, its leaves turning toward the sun, its roots reaching for water, every part functioning in perfect harmony with its environment to become a full, complete expression of a tree. Or consider the relentless, reliable turning of the seasons, each one preparing the ground for the next in an endless cycle of death and rebirth. You are no different. Your own life, with its joys and its sorrows, its gains and its losses, is a manifestation of this same universal reason. You are a leaf on that cosmic tree, and your purpose is to play your part with the same innate excellence. So find a small patch of nature today, whether it is a city park, your own backyard, or simply a potted plant on a windowsill. Sit with it for 5 minutes of pure observation. Do not try to think or analyze, just watch. See the intricate patterns, the patient growth, the quiet interdependence of all the elements. And as you sit there, ask yourself this simple, reflective question, not with your mind, but with your entire being. How am I, in this very moment, a living expression of this same beautiful and rational whole? End your day not with distraction, but with a quiet conversation with your soul. This final, deliberate act is the 28th Stoic tactic, the evening review. A rigorous and honest audit of your day that solidifies your learning and turns raw experience into lasting wisdom. While the morning prepares your mind for what is to come, the evening harvests the lessons from what has already passed, ensuring that no day slips by without contributing to your growth. Seneca detailed his own meticulous practice in his work on anger, describing how he would question his own soul each night. He asked, "What evil have you cured today? What fault have you resisted? In what part are you better?" His goal was never self-flagellation, but a clear-eyed accounting, a gentle yet firm correction of his course. To begin your own review, find a quiet space and dedicate just 5 minutes with a notebook. Structure your reflection around 3 core questions. First, ask yourself, where did I follow reason today? Look for the moments you acted with virtue, perhaps when you responded to a provocation with patience instead of anger, or when you chose courage over comfort in a difficult conversation. Acknowledge these victories, for they are the proof of your growing strength. Second, and this requires the most honesty, ask, where did I let passion rule? Where did a fleeting emotion, like annoyance or envy, hijack your judgment and steer you away from your best self? Identify the specific trigger and the mistaken judgment that allowed it to take hold. And third, ask, what is the one lesson I can carry into tomorrow? This is not about crafting a long list of resolutions, but distilling one single piece of wisdom from the day's events. Perhaps you learned that a certain environment makes you irritable, or that you need to set a clearer boundary with a particular person. This structured review closes the day with clarity and purpose. It allows you to lay your head down, having made peace with your mistakes and celebrated your progress, turning every single day, no matter how challenging, into a stepping stone on your path to self-mastery. Your challenge is to treat this not as a permanent obligation, but as a 7-day experiment. For the next week, commit to this nightly conversation. After those 7 days, pause and ask yourself, do I feel a greater sense of clarity, a stronger connection to my own progress, a quieter mind as I prepare for sleep? This simple ritual is the forge where your daily experiences are hammered into the unbreakable steel of character. Every sip of coffee, every casual goodbye at the door, holds a hidden depth you can unlock with a single question. This is the 29th and final tactic, the last time meditation, a lens that transforms the mundane into the sacred by asking, what if this was the very last time you would ever do this? While not a named ancient practice, it grows directly from the Stoic soil of Memento Mori, taking the remembrance of death from a general principle and applying it with piercing specificity to the fleeting moments that make up a life. It is a call to stop saving your full presence for some special occasion and to instead invest it here, now, in this seemingly ordinary action. Marcus Aurelius touched on this when he wrote, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live." While he was urging grand action, the same urgency applies to the small, quiet acts of noticing and appreciating. The goal is not to live in fear of loss, but to live in awe of the temporary, fragile beauty of everything you currently hold. Think of the simple ritual of your morning coffee. You typically drink it while scanning news headlines or planning your day, the taste barely registering. Now perform the last time meditation. Hold the warm mug and truly look at the steam rising. Inhale the rich aroma as if for the first time. Feel the heat against your palm and taste the bitter, complex flavor on your tongue, fully aware that this specific combination of sensations in this exact moment will never come again. The coffee has not changed, but your experience of it has been utterly transfigured from a habit into a ceremony. Apply this same potent lens to hugging a loved one before they leave for the day. Instead of a quick, automatic squeeze, pause for 1 extra second. Feel the solid reality of them in your arms. Listen to the sound of their breath. Soak in the simple fact of their presence, holding the quiet thought that this embrace, exactly as it is, might be the final one. This is not morbid, it is the deepest form of gratitude. It ensures you never take a single hug for granted, that you are fully there to receive the love being offered. So your final challenge, the one that can make every day of your life more vivid, is this. Tomorrow, choose one routine activity you normally perform on autopilot. It could be your commute home, eating your lunch, or even tying your shoes. As you begin, consciously introduce the thought, "This might be the last time I ever do this." Then perform the action with the focused attention and profound appreciation that such a thought naturally inspires. In doing so, you will have gathered all 29 tactics into a single, transformative practice, learning to live not as if each day were your last, but as if every single moment within it was a final, priceless gift. Self-mastery is not a destination you arrive at, but a path you walk each day with these 29 Stoic tactics as your guide. This journey is not about eliminating emotion, but about reclaiming your inner freedom, building a resilience so profound that no external storm can shake the core of who you are. You are learning to find your strength not in controlling the world, but in commanding your own mind. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus gave us the ultimate expression of this power when he said, "No one is invincible until the person who finds their good in their own character." When your happiness and self-worth are rooted in your own virtuous choices, in your courage, your integrity, and your wisdom, you become truly unbreakable. Nothing from the outside can be taken from you because your true treasure is held securely within. Now, the most important step is to begin. Do not feel you must master all 29 tactics at once. That is a recipe for overwhelm. Instead, look back over this journey and listen to your intuition, which one or two practices called out to you most strongly. Perhaps it is the morning premeditation of your day or the evening review in your journal. Maybe it is the simple power of the "it is what it is" mindset when faced with a frustration. Choose just one and commit to practicing it for the next 7 days. Make it your own. We would be honored to hear about your journey in the comments below. Tell us, which Stoic tactic will you be taking with you today? If this path toward unbreakable self-mastery has been valuable for you, subscribe for more guides to practical philosophy. Your inner citadel awaits, and the first stone is in your hands.